guys, welcome back to the channel. So let me just do a quick recap. So we just went and made a Voximplant ID and just created this scenario called Omnum, and then created some users for testing, and then bind those users in this applications. Not applications, you can find it in particular application I have just created for testing this. Then I just went ahead and used this layout. You can use your own layout. Now let's see the flowchart where from app.js we'll be checking for local stored email, which we'll be using for automatic login. But for now we'll just be going as a first launch where we'll navigate to login.js, which will give us three options to either login, sign up, or forget password, which have no changes for my particular layout. And for login, we just show these icons, and then on press, let me just show you. And then on press, we navigated here where we just stored this email and password. And then for the account value name and app name value, we will be using our Voximplant main ID, and this will generate the username, which will go to the user, and then login. And then on login, it will navigate to boiler. Now, as we'll be using this delegate protocol, we have defined it in app.js only, right here, where we'll be using add listener for connection successful, login successful, and login failed. This will be only required once. You can put it here, but as we'll be using automatic login, we'll be putting it right here. So there will be a scenario where we'd want us to create a user, but we don't want to go inside that control panel and create a new user. So we will be defining this register option. So when this touchable opacity will be clicked, we'll be navigating to register. So let me just check this working.png where we'll be navigating to sign up touchable opacity, where this STK connect for listener as connection success. So let's move into register.js. So as this register is clicked, this component mount will be checked where this STK connect will be done. It will just give us this connection successful. And let's check this working.png where we'll be going to text field for set values, and then touchable highlight on register trace and spinner visible. So let's check it where we'll be going to this text field, which I have defined in my previous video. And now on register trace.bind, we'll be moving to on register trace. So let's check that. So this is async. So we'll be storing this email name and password, and this set state loading not true will define us for the spinner, which is defined right here. So it will be visible only when this state loading is true, and as it is defined here to be true, it will be shown, and we'll be saving these items, and then we'll be entering this email. So now we'll be using this HTTP API, for which we'll be using this login. So let's check it, and this will be our Voximplant email and Voximplant password, from which my case was sonim.54@gmail.com, and just enter this password. Now this layout has been driven from here, where this will be taking my email and this will take my password, and it will give me this JSON object where I'll be needing this email account ID and API key, which I have defined here, API key and account ID, and I have stored it in locally, and then we'll be console logging it just for our own requirement. Now there may be a scenario where we will need to add application, which is defined here as this will be getting from that account ID which we have just done above, and this API key, and now we'll need to defining application name, which I have named Omnum. Now I cannot use this application again and again because it should be unique. So I've defined it here and I've commented out. So just let me comment here, and this will be our app name, which will be giving it here, and then it will be giving us a response, and we'll stringify it because it will be a number form and we need in string form like here and here. So we'll be getting this application ID, and then here we have defined this username, which we'll be getting from the email, and then we'll be logging in here, account ID, API key, and username value is here, and name will be fetching from that text field, and this will be password, and then we'll be waiting for the response which will give us this user ID, and we'll save it. Now, as we have just added this user using this account ID, API key, and username and display name and the password, now we need to bind the user to the application we just created like this, which we'll be using in this account ID, API key, and user ID and application ID. So we have just fetched this user ID, and then here is the application ID, and then we'll be using this for giving us the result. Now, as we have already done it, so we can't repeat it because this will be creating this application, and if you try to do it again, it will give us error because this application ID should be unique. So let me just comment it again, and here we'll be assigning to all the applications. So in this case, we'll be just getting this username value, and from here we'll be getting this user ID to create the application, user, and then in this case for this response we'll be using this application ID as all. So whatever application we have used, it will all be assigned this user ID, and then we'll be awaiting this result, which will be 1 if it has been accepted, and then we'll be repeating that login value like right here where we'll be using this our main application ID and app name and password, and then we'll be using it for login. And now, as the process has been done, we need to stop the spinner, so we'll put it as false right here and then navigate to the boiler. Now you will be having a question like why we have stored that username and email and name as locally. Now we'll be using it right here because we don't want the user to be entering these credentials again and again when the app is relaunched. So we'll be using that auto login feature where we'll be using this already stored username and email to log in, and if it is empty, then only the user will be asked to log in. So let's check it in this app.js. So for auto login, I have just instigated a close connection if there was previous any connection, and I have defined this email as false, and this will be the values we'll be taking from AsynStorage. And when this component read mount is checked, so it will be looking for an item called email, and if this item has been found, then this state will be giving this email as true, otherwise it will be using this default value, and then it will go into the connection state and will be showing this connection successful as console log and say state page to login. So then we'll navigating to this render. Let's see it right here. Now it will check for this email. If this value is not false, that is, we'll be needing to show this login. And if the state has reached this login state, that is, it has gone into this connection state, then only we'll be navigating to the this.voximplant. And in this.voximplant, so let me just go into the definition, and from here it will be fetching this account name and app name. And now, as we have already used for set item, it will be getting this item, which it will get this email and username and password, and then it will go into this login and it will put this login and just give us this console log. And now this default render for this return will be given, which will navigate us to this boiler. Let me just do a quick overall from here. So we'll be navigating from app.js. Then it will go to this component bound and check for this variable called email, and if it is found, then it will be set as true, otherwise false, and then goes into this connection state. And if email is true, that is, it will go into this relaunch state. So, and we'll be using our previous credentials and log in it. Otherwise, it will navigate to login.js and then go into this connection state, where either we'll be logging in it or we'll be creating this user and navigating to this boiler. Only in the case that it will be successfully binded into the application and the user is created. And if it is relaunched back again, it will be navigated to the spoiler already. Otherwise, you can use that login credentials which we use for this sign up and then navigate it to boiler. Now, as the server side has been done, we need to see this user side, which I am working on it right here, and I'll see you in the next video.